Hello and welcome to Tax Matters. I am Pearl Namaka.
And I am Chiamaka Ohaochi.
It has always been said that taxation rests on a tripod: tax policy, tax laws, or legislation if you like, and tax administration. That taxation rests squarely on legislation means or suggests that when there's an infraction of the law, then sanctions are imposed. After all, laws must be enforced if they are to be obeyed.
The uniqueness of tax administration is that when disputes arise, the infraction can be either from the side of the tax collector or that of the taxpayer. When that happens, the need for adjudication arises.
As we highlighted a few episodes ago on this program, disputes in taxation are, first and foremost, resolved internally, that is, between the taxpayer and the taxing authority. When the internal resolution mechanism has been exhausted and either of the two parties is still not satisfied, then the dispute is escalated to the external realm.
Again, as we highlighted a few episodes ago on this program, external dispute resolution begins with the Tax Appeal Tribunal. On this episode, we are sticking with the Tax Appeal Tribunal because we believe that a thorough appreciation of the role of the TAT in the scheme of things is crucial to a smooth tax administration in Nigeria.
The TAT has been very busy lately, and you'll recall that a few episodes ago, we brought you the story of two landmark judgments from the Enugu and the Abuja zones of the tribunal. As a further step towards sharpening the teeth of the TAT, that is, making the chairmen and commissioners, as they are called, more effective at their work, the TAT held a 2-day retreat for the chairmen and commissioners in Abuja from the 9th to the 10th of July 2019. The theme of the retreat was towards reforming the TAT for effective and efficient tax dispute resolution in Nigeria. Malam M.L. Abubakar is the coordinating secretary of the TAT.
The objective of the retreat is to review TAT's performance from commencement of sitting in November 2018 to identify our gains, gaps, and challenges, and to collectively set up a common agenda and ways to strengthen our processes and procedure. The TAT formally commenced sittings on the 19th of November 2018 after inauguration of the commissioners on the 5th of November of the same year.
In his special remarks, Mr. Babatunde Fowler, Executive Chairman FIRS, again reaffirmed the neutrality of the FIRS in matters relating to the Tax Appeal Tribunal. Mr. Fowler was invited to the podium with this beautiful preamble.
The legal basis for the TAT derives from the FIRS Establishment Act of 2007, that's provided for in the schedule. It's on that note we would like to invite the chairman of the FIRS. And by the way, for those who are not in the tax business and who are here, the FIRS itself can be a party to a dispute. It can initiate an action, as it were, at any of the zones of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. Let's now welcome the chairman of FIRS to deliver the special remarks at this opening ceremony of the retreat. Mr. Fowler.
First of all, when considering Nigeria as a country and the level of tax compliance, some of us may feel a bit concerned. But this government, basically regardless of the fact that we may have a low level of compliance, also believes in the rights of the taxpayer. And that is why the TAT was established. We support the TAT. However, we have no direct bearing on the outcomes of the TAT. Some people may believe that we have undue influence over the decisions. I'd just like to make public here that we do not. In terms of the cases and the number of cases that have gone through TAT, I'd like to commend the chairman of the commissioners, the advisory board, and all other stakeholders. We're extremely delighted that based on the decisions made by the TAT, based on what I have heard, very few have gone for an appeal, meaning that they're satisfied with the judgments, and that basically goes to show the expertise that is in this room. I can safely say that most of the brightest minds in the area of taxation reside in this room, and for that I congratulate all of you. To date, we have not had any reason not to accept any decisions. If I'm right, we have not appealed any decisions as of yet. But at the same time, for other taxpayers who may want to explore other the opportunities, basically we accept it. Our aim is to make sure that we have a fair and level playing field, especially in the area of taxation, regardless of the fact that we do have budgets in terms of revenue, but that does not becloud the fact that you have other options. And on this point, I'd like to ask all taxpayers to please bring forward their cases to make sure that they can be decided upon, and if need be, you may still make an appeal.
There were goodwill messages from stakeholder organizations. From speaker to speaker, it was a show of support and solidarity for the TAT. Permanent Secretary, Special Duties at the Federal Ministry of Finance, Mohammed Kari Dikwa, delivered the keynote address and declared the retreat open.
The TAT, being an alternative dispute resolution mechanism, should provide taxpayers and tax authorities a platform for speedy and cost-effective resolution of tax disputes. Therefore, the Federal Ministry of Finance expects the commissioners to quicken the process and procedures in the adjudication of tax cases brought before them. It is now of crucial importance to align the quick disposal of tax appeal to government strategic revenue growth initiative, an initiative that is geared towards dramatic improvement in government revenue.
The chairman and commissioners of the TAT paid a courtesy call on the management of the FRS at Revenue House, Abuja.
The retreat, which was essentially aimed at reforming the Tax Appeal Tribunal for effective and efficient tax dispute resolution, centered around a review of contentious issues in previous judgments of the tribunal between 2010 and 2016. The tribunal members were also taken through a practical guide to writing judgments and rulings. And of course, to bring them up to speed on technical issues, there was a paper on novel issues in oil and gas taxation. Reports emanating from the different zones of the tribunal were discussed, and a strategic action plan was drawn up.
At the end of it all, a communique was issued.
The commissioners of the various panels in the zones, with our coordinating secretary, are here to present the communique.
The Tax Appeal Tribunal held its 2019 retreat on the 9th and 10th July 2019 at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja, with the theme towards reforming the Tax Appeal Tribunal for effective and efficient tax dispute resolution in Nigeria. The TAT and some key stakeholders deliberated on various issues and reached the following major decisions. 1. The achievements made by the TAT since its inauguration on the 5th November 2018 are commendable. It is, however, imperative for the TAT to redouble its effort to ensure that pending cases are expeditiously resolved. The quick resolution of the pending and future matters will advance the cause of justice, as justice delayed is justice denied. 2. There is a need to intensify effort in publicity and stakeholders' engagement so as to increase public awareness about the existence and operation of the TAT, and also promote collaboration with other stakeholders on taxpayers' education. 4. In line with the revised national tax policy, the TAT will also work closely with relevant stakeholders, especially the taxpayers, National Assembly, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Finance, Federal Inland Revenue Service, states, and FCT, Internal Revenue Service, in ensuring that legal framework for TAT is straightened. There is a need for an urgent review and amendment of obsolete and conflicting tax laws to address problem of multiple taxation and avoidable revenue leakages, among others.
Members of the press in attendance took up the chairman in some of the matters arising.
How many cases have been resolved so far? How many did we inherit? How many new ones came? And how many have been concluded? And then, of course, you also spoke about the need to amend tax laws. And we noticed that at this seminar, we didn't have representatives of the National Assembly. What steps are you taking to bring the legislators on board in this quest to have a smooth tax admission system in Nigeria?
At the inception, the tribunal inherited 215 cases with disputed value of over 600 billion naira and 5.1 billion US dollars. A total number of 62 cases have been resolved. 31 cases are at point of settlement. In terms of relationship with other stakeholders like the National Assembly, this is our first retreat, and we have arrangement to engage with other stakeholders, including the National Assembly. And the purpose, as you have seen, you've heard, we've read in our communique, is to bring all the stakeholders together to enhance our tax system.
My question is directed to Professor Abiola. Sir, during the retreat, so much weather has been on Section 19. So what does this Section 19 say, and why is it so contentious?
Section 19 is an anti-avoidance provision. And what do I mean by anti-avoidance provision? Is a provision inserted in the law to plug loopholes arising from practices relating to distribution of dividends. And the spirit is that if a company is not making profit, it has no business distributing profits. But we have cases where companies are distributing they are distributing dividends from their past earning that had already suffered tax. But if you look at the strict provisions of that section, Section 19, it seeks to bring to the tax net all distribution without regard to whether it is from current earning or previous earning. So, and the various judicial intervention, in my view, adroitly said, look, we cannot infer what is not in this provision into the provision, even if that we advance justice. And then that is the way to go. Because if they are allowed to do so, then they will have the liberty to infer so many things that may even be counterproductive to the entire tax system. So we have recognized in the course of this deliberation that legislative intervention is required. And I'm happy to note that the National Tax Policy Implementation Committee, as far back as 15 months, had recommended legislative intervention. So it is our expectation that we'll move quickly in the right direction and address this in a legislative manner. Because there are certain things the judiciary cannot do, because it will amount to legislative judgment.
There you are, the Tax Appeal Tribunal for you. Are you aggrieved about any matter relating to assessment or demand notice served on you by any tax authority? The Tax Appeal Tribunal is your first point of call outside and beyond internal dispute resolution mechanism. Embrace the TAT and you'll be the better for it. At various times before and after the retreat, Tax Matters spoke to some chairmen and some secretaries of the TAT.
You'll recall that a few episodes ago, we brought you the story of the landmark judgment delivered by the Enugu zone of the TAT on June 20, 2019. After the sitting of the tribunal, Tax Matters sat down with Barrister Chukwuemeka Eze, chairman of the Enugu zone of the TAT. What kind of cases commonly come up?
Almost all tax types, minusing stamp duties, but the regular ones, value-added tax, withholding tax for individuals and corporate entities, personal income tax, companies income tax.
Please enlighten us on the procedure and processes of the Tax Appeal Tribunal.
Basically, when an assessment notice has been given to a taxpayer or demand notice, whichever one you call it, then one of the parties, perhaps the taxpayer, might object. If it has to do with the personal income tax, Section 58 subsection 2 requires the taxpayer to object within 30 days. And if he does not do so, the amount will be regarded as final and conclusive, although he can seek for extension of time within which to appeal, can bring an action at the tribunal for extension of time, or even to object. Yes, he can also, first, ordinarily he should bring such application or by way of letter to the tax authority. The tax authority most times will oblige, and they will have cause to sit down, a tax reconciliation committee, yes, so if they are able to reconcile, the taxpayer pays. If they cannot, taxpayer comes within 30 days to the tribunal. Sometimes it might be the tax authority that will be aggrieved that it has served assessment notice to a taxpayer and the taxpayer has not paid. But the tax authority has other options not available to the taxpayer. For instance, a tax authority might apply, in the case of personal income tax, to a state high court pursuant to Section 104 of the Personal Income Tax Act. Ex parte, bring an application ex parte, that without serving the taxpayer, to levy warrant of distraint. So it may be granted. Basically, for general issues of assessment, they are brought before the Tax Appeal Tribunal. You prepare a notice of appeal. So that decision taken by the tax authority is taken as a decision. So if you're appealing against it, that's why here it's called the Tax Appeal Tribunal. If it is a matter we think a negotiation will solve, we appeal to the parties to take a shot at that. So only the ones they cannot resolve, they come back to us.
Mr. Ike Odume is Director Legal at the FIRS.
Sir, if I have a choice to go between the Tax Appeal Tribunal and the courts, why do I have to come to the Tax Appeal Tribunal?
Thank you very much. One is that the Tax Appeal Tribunal is established by law. That means it has a legal basis. And then, of course, each panel of the Tax Appeal Tribunal is made up of 5 members. And these are experts in tax law. But the High Court, or the Federal High Court actually, does not have such composition of experts. So for me, I would rather go to present my case before a panel of men who I know that are very, very highly knowledgeable on the subject matter. So for me, the Tax Appeal Tribunal is composed of men who are experts in tax law. That's number one point. And it's, with that knowledge of tax law, they were able to give me justice. Secondly, the Tax Appeal Tribunal is always faster because they do not apply the normal procedural hiccups that you experience in normal courts of law. So, of course, it doesn't admit of technicalities, adjournments, and all those things, a hear lawyer, interlocutory applications, and all that. But the TAT is just a hearing on the facts. And then, of course, it is faster because all those technicalities and abracadabra of lawyers. They are not actually allowed, So it's a kind of a panel, that is purely administrative. So for me, if I have need for an urgent judgment, I should go to the tax appeal because they will give me judgment faster.
Is the judgment of the tax appeal tribunal enforceable?
The law says, look, any judgment obtained at the TAT can be enforced by registering it at the Federal High Court. So it is deemed to be a judgment of a court of law. So the judgment obtained at TAC is enforceable. All you need to get your judgment, go to the Federal High Court, get it registered, and it will be enforced as a judgment of court.
In any case, if you are aggrieved with if you are not satisfied with our decision, the law provides that you go to the Federal High Court on point of law within 30 days. You can appeal against our decision to the Federal High Court.
Barrister Uche Ukuta is the secretary of the Enugu zone of the TAT. What is the jurisdiction of the Southeast Zonal Tribunal of the Tax Appeal Tribunal?
The Southeast Zone covers Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states.
When did your reconstituted panel commence sitting?
We commenced sitting on the 19th of November 2018.
How many cases did you inherit from the old tribunal?
We inherited 19 cases from the old tribunal. Presently, we have 15 because we have disposed of 7 from the old cases, and then 3 new cases were filed. So we presently have 15 on our cause list. As you see, we read a judgment today, and we've disposed previously of 7 cases. So today's own makes it 8 out of the 19 that we inherited. We have 15 left on our docket because 3 new cases have been filed since the inception of this panel.
What is the procedure for filing from either side? If a matter or a litigant or a disputant falls under a zone, should it come straight to the zone or must it be filed at the coordinating secretariat in Abuja?
Matters are filed at the zones from which the cause emanated. So if your company is registered in Enugu and based in Enugu, you would file your matter in the Southeast Zone. If the same thing if it's based in Benin, Port Harcourt, you file with the South-South. You file where the cause that gives rise to your action occurred, and that would be the zone, not in the coordinating secretariat.
And a few episodes ago, we brought you excerpts from our interview with the secretary of the Abuja zone of the TAT, Mr. Ahmed Aliyu. We want to bring you the concluding part of the interview.
When did your reconstituted zonal tribunal commence sitting?
Yeah, like you rightly said, there was a lull for 2 years, and this tribunal commenced sitting on the 26th of November, 2018. That was last year.
Yes. So how many cases did you inherit from the old tribunal?
Well, the tribunal started sitting on the 26th of November with 15 cases. Some inherited and some were filed during the period when the tribunal was not yet constituted.
Okay, so how many cases do you have now, both old and new?
Yeah, we have 8 cases now. We started with 15 cases. We now have 8. So it means we have concluded 7 cases.
So finally, what do you have to say to taxpayers out there?
Well, I'll say this to taxpayers. Gone are the days when you hear that tax collectors are coming, you run into the bush, or you jump inside your roof for fear of being molested. The federal government has created a platform for taxpayers who feel aggrieved to ventilate their grievances. That is why we are here, for the taxpayers. If you feel aggrieved, if you feel that the assessment given to you should not be, it's not the correct assessment, talk it out with the tax authorities. If you still are not satisfied, escalate your grievance by coming to the tribunal. And I'll also add that it pays to pay your taxes.
Again, we say the TAT is your own. The TAT has zonal tribunals in all the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria, a zonal tribunal in Abuja, and in Lagos, because of the volume of activities there are 3 panels.
The TAT is fast, affordable, and efficient. See you around. Have a beautiful week ahead.